Is this thing working? Let's see. Yeah, we're live now, and the thing is working. The microphone is up. I can hear the sound. Everything is working fine. The guest is waiting for us. I can't mute this. Let me. Okay. Now I'm good. Um, yeah, we're here. We're ready. Let's. I don't know. Let's get the show going without much delay. There's no point in delaying. Today we have with us the most great and awesome Mr. Robert W5 India Tango Romeo, also known as the Digital Rancher, um, who joins me because no, it's great. I've been meaning to have you on for a long time, and today was a perfect week to do it because I know I saw you on Instagram. You had some interesting field day postings and comments, and I don't know. It's a good week to talk about what happened during field day, what you do, and how it came out. So welcome to the show. And yeah, you want to tell everybody who doesn't know you what is it that you do normally? What's your claim to fame? What's your claim to micro fame? Yeah. When did you get licensed? Okay. Um, I I I got licensed in 2020, so I'm even more recent ham than you. So it's yep, yep. Compared to I meet some people who come and tell me, no, yeah, I got my DXCC number one when in 1973. It's like, yeah, I was being born that year. It's like it's crazy to run into people who've been doing this for as long as I've been alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
out in the ether and hunt and poke
You know,
around and actually find
Robert,
people are sending stuff.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. Um, Apparently you are not making any noise out there. That's what I get for muting my YouTube and not checking the audio
Uh-oh.
levels. You are making noise now,
I'm
or
making
you
noise
should be
now.
making. Yep, you
Fantastic.
should be making noise right now. I hope. Let's wait if the yep confirm
All
that you're
right.
making noise out.
Confirmed. I see
We
John
can
there.
give the
Thanks,
people
John.
the TLDR, or we
Yeah,
can start all
TLDR.
over again.
Nah, we'll do the
Yeah,
TLDR. So, satellites and digital modes got me excited about ham radio. And I've been fascinated and excited about it ever since, right? Going back 7, 8 years now.
yeah. The satellite thing when I first became a ham, that was not something I knew was possible, and it was really really mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah,
The idea that with an HD, with a really affordable device, with an antenna you can build yourself, you could talk to a satellite. That's really crazy.
yeah. Well, and to take that kind of craziness a little further, right? As a civilian, as just a regular Joe, right? You can utilize this thing in the air that's someone's probably spent close to $100,000, if not more, on to build, to engineer, build, launch, and
Yeah,
manage.
yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, one thing I haven't talked that much about because, well, you'll no spoilers, but a couple of like 3 years ago, I was working at a company doing online education in Latin America,
Okay.
and I convinced the company that it would be fun to launch our own satellite, and we actually did a whole project to put up a Pico satellite using LoRa, and we went with that because we wanted to have, I don't know, tens of thousands of our students get cheap LoRa devices. They cost like $20,
Sure.
and be able to try to contact the satellite as it passed overhead. Um, Sadly, the satellite could not. It failed during deployment.
Hmm.
the The rate of tumbling was too much for the solar charge controller.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
the you know that those controllers are supposed to like use pulse modulation to like send the right voltage from the solar panels into the batteries, and but if the panel is spinning at thousands of revolutions per second or something like that, the controller can't catch up.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was a problem, not just the spin rate but also the intensity of the sun. Like the trials, we work with a company out of Spain that actually does these Pico satellites, and they experimented with they tried this new MPTT controller. They programmed themselves. It's not like an off the shelf part because you need to be able to adjust those things. And they tried high spins and they tried high solar input. They
Okay.
didn't try both at the same time.
Uh,
So the two, it's something that I'm oversimplifying, but it was something along those lines.
yeah, yeah.
That So the satellite was up for 2 weeks until the batteries died.
Oh, that was gonna be my question. So, I'm assuming they can launch them charged. I don't know if
Yeah,
they
it
can
was
launch them
charged, but
fully
yep,
charged, but
it was able to send a couple of pings, but it was like clearly the battery was not charging, and it was quickly going down and down and down. And yep,
wow.
it was very sad,
Well,
but
it's
we tried.
yeah, no, I think that's fantastic, right? Just to get to that point. I mean, in my
Yeah, and
research
the
go ahead.
idea came from ham radio, from seeing all the Oscar satellites, and then at the same time LoRa, and trying to do something that
Yeah.
could work without licenses, and we went with that. But yeah, that was a fun project. I loved being involved with that. Sad that it didn't pan out, but it was it's one of those things I'm proud of having tried
Yeah, for
in my
sure.
life.
Well, I think In my research, the cost of the satellite is not that bad, right? I mean, if you had some folks that were really interested, you could probably get 10 of your buddies and everybody chip in and you
It's
could pay for the satellite,
Yep.
right?
The a Pico satellite will cost you in the tens of thousands max. If
Yeah,
you, I mean, depending on how fancy you want to get.
but it's
And
the launch, right?
but
That's
even
the
the
killer.
launch is affordable. I mean, it's what happens if you have to pay for the launch for something like that. It's probably going to be like 40, 50 grand for something really light, like a pound or two. And
Gotcha.
you can do a Pico satellite that does LoRa uh, in a pound, like something the size of a soda can that will transmit, and you will be able to get the signals down on Earth and all of that, and you can launch that for less than 50 grand. So it's still relatively
I didn't
affordable.
realize that. I thought you were more like
Um,
100K.
it's I mean, again, it depends on how fancy you want to get, but yes, let's say between 50 and 100, and it might have been going down in price recently.
Hmm.
What tends to happen is if you do it as a nonprofit or as a regular project, you can try to basically hitch a ride with someone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
If the weight of your project is marginal, you can get someone else to put you in their payload for no money, because they pay for, say, 10 pounds of weight, and their satellite is actually 9.5, and you can
Right.
get included in that case. And that, or like, what tends to happen in the satellites we use as hams is someone's putting up some bigger satellite, and they say, hey, I have this little corner here, and I have 2 amps of power to spare, figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then somebody comes and puts a little ham repeater in that corner and gets it to work.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's,
it's
I mean, the work that AMSAT does promoting this and developing the whole thing is really commendable.
it really is. I've never thought of it though, kind of like a you're subleasing, right? Sublease some of
Yeah.
um your payload space.
Yep, that's kind of how it works.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so
the
satellites is something that that I really enjoy doing. To this point, it's primarily been portable. I really enjoy getting out and doing that as part of my travels. It's kind of
Mhm.
fun. I actually have more QSOs, more grids collected um, from
While on the go.
yeah, from grids other than my home grid, than my
Uh huh.
QTH, than where that might be counterintuitive for folks.
The I've seen you do the satellite demo during convention, at least the last couple of years,
Yeah,
where you go on like whenever there's a good pass, you
right,
go on
right. Try
like
to
the central, the flag area, and try to do contacts. And what's the people's reaction?
yeah, it's interesting. It usually pulls a crowd, especially at Hamvention, right? I mean, and it's kind of funny, right? Because everyone is a YouTuber these days. Everybody's got a camera. And so, I'm standing there, I'm trying to point at this satellite and I've got, you know, I'm basically it adds another level of complexity to my past because in addition to tracking Doppler, finding the satellite, seeing where I am in the past, I'm also making sure I don't whack somebody with an antenna, right?
Because it's
Because
crowded.
it's crowded. It's
Yeah,
crowded. Yeah. But it no, it's the response is always very good. There's always a lot of interest. And that's one of the things I like about it, right? It draws attention to our hobby, right? It's
yeah,
to me, it's like one of the coolest things you can do with radio.
that's true. And have you had the chance, or have you even tried contacting an astronaut? That's kind of like the holy grail of
Yeah, yeah. I've actually made 2 astronaut contacts. Um,
wow.
I've been on several passes where there's been an astronaut,
Hmm.
and you know, it's kind of like one of those bucket list things. Once you check it, um, you're good.
Yeah,
Um, and
but
you
until
want
then,
everybody
it's
to
like,
have that. You want everybody
yeah,
to have that excitement, get that feeling. And so I've
yeah.
been on passes before where I've heard the astronaut interacting with other folks, and I just don't even bother to
Hmm.
throw my name out there because I've got mine, right? My box is checked. I've got mine. I've got my QSL card sitting right around here somewhere. You know, I've got it covered. And there's just something really cool about hearing other people make that contact.
And the problem is that you never know when the astronauts are gonna be on the radio.
You
It's
don't. You know, it's a crapshoot. Now, on a rare occasion, and this was actually there was actually an announcement before Field Day this year where Eris tweeted or X'd, or I don't know what it's called. They sent out a message via X that said, "Hey, um, if all is well on the space station, we've got a couple astronauts that are going to try to make QSOs for Field Day." And that is the first time I've ever seen it announced,
an announcement. Yeah.
right? And you know, of course, we had lousy passes for the ISS for the majority of Field Day here um, in my neck of the woods, which is North Texas. Just you know, like 2-degree passes, or you know, 9 degree passes. The best pass I had, the best opportunity I had, was at 1:10 in the morning, um, Friday into Saturday morning. And so I actually went out, I went out, made a contact. I wanted to hear if there was an astronaut on, and there was not.
Hmm.
But during that pass, I was able to make my Field Day contact, so that was good. I got to check that box for Field Day.
Hold on. Let me. My camera is leaning sideways. Let me make it straight. That's better. Um, the one thing, I mean, the a lot of people think you need to have like a beam and a fancy setup, a radio that does full duplex. And one thing I watched during Field Day this year, I was with W3ITR, a club in Pennsylvania, just in the Carbondale area. And I forget his call sign. I should have researched that before the show to have it written down. But he did a satellite contact using his car antenna
Yeah,
with a regular radio with no duplex. Not He wasn't able to hear what his transmission was coming out, but he will just try to transmit, and he got a QSO
yeah,
in the
yeah.
middle of Field Day. Because Field Day is also a crowded day,
It's one of the
and
most
he managed.
difficult times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he managed to get one with nothing, no particular setup, just his normal uh, mobile rig.
yeah, yeah,
It was lucky. It was a low pass. It was, I think it was 18 degrees or something like that, which helps having for the car antenna. If it were a high up in the like anything above 45 degrees, the antenna might not have worked as well. But he says that he's gotten tons and tons of contacts just using that antenna. It's just
yeah,
a matter of getting the right angles. So you could be doing. I mean, in fact, I could be doing more satellite contacts.
yeah.
I got
Absolutely.
an APRS ping of the
Nice.
ISS very early on, like right when I started, when I got my license. I got that, and even got the QSL card. But
Nice.
I wanna do more regular satellite work, some hunt some grids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
The guy who did the contact on the club was November Alpha One Lima Dale. I'm reminded
okay.
here in the chat. Yep. No,
Yeah,
that
I
was fun to watch. I'm one of those who thought, no, you need to have a Yagi, you need to aim it just right, and no, you can do it with just
You
The
can.
most simple setup. Just need to try a few times to get the hang of it, and
Yeah. Now your success rate is going to be low,
right.
right? Um, and one of the things I find is people they get frustrated with it, right? So they'll try it a few times, and if they don't have success, then they
They
walk away from it, and they'll just go do something else. So a
yeah.
Yagi certainly gives you the highest success, opportunity for success. But yeah, I've got some videos on my channel where I've got one where I've made contacts through a signal stick mounted on my truck while I'm going down the highway. So it's a mobile with a signal stick, and that's with my 2730. A lot of times I'll take that and I'll just plug it into the antenna that I've got in my truck, and I'll just operate with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also done it with just an HT, and I've done it with an HT that's not full duplex. Again, it's just your success
And
rate is much lower.
what's the point of the full duplex? What
Yeah.
is it that
So
you
so
want to
there's
do
a
with that?
couple things for full duplex. So one of the great things about using a Yagi is that you're going to get gain out of it, right? That's the obvious thing that everybody understands. The other thing that's not quite as that folks might not consider is you're also reducing your window where you can hear and transmit. So you've got to, when you have that Yagi, you got to be pointing at the satellite. You got to be
Mm-hmm.
pointing at the space station, right? Because you've got gain, which is
And you
great,
cannot
but you
see it.
also you've reduced the transmission window, right?
Yeah, and you don't see where the satellite or the space station is. You're aiming at the
Yeah, I mean, you can
sky.
use an app, right, to help you
That
aim
tells you. Mm-hmm.
that tells you where it's at in the sky. So that certainly helps. But yeah, I mean, I lost my train of thought where I was headed there. But so, oh, I know where I was headed. So because you have a smaller transmission window,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know. Um, you have a higher likelihood that you're not getting into the satellite than if you're using an omnidirectional antenna, actually, if you think about it, right? And so hearing yourself in the downlink lets you know that you're on the satellite. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can hear yourself, then others can hear you as well.
And also, the satellite is an FM repeater, so it's basically the strongest signal wins. The
Absolutely.
It's not like on
Absolutely.
sideband where you hear a pileup of everybody. Is more of a one. So you want to know if you're not the strongest signal, there's no point in keeping calling if you don't hear
Yeah,
yourself.
it's the other aspect of it is it's just good operating practice, right? If you can't hear, you don't know if you're stomping on somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you can't hear
Yeah,
if you're getting in, you could be transmitting on top of somebody else, because if you can't hear yourself, you might not be hearing the other operators as well.
correct. Yeah. Now,
So
have you tried
it's not necessary, but it's helpful.
the next level after that is moon bounce? Have you? Are you
I have
interested in
not
that?
tried that. No, I've not tried that. I would I I'm I am installing a ground station, a satellite ground station,
Uh huh.
right now. And so what that is it's a computer controlled set of Yagis, right? That helps you track. First of all, you've got two large Yagis. You got a 70 centimeter and a 2 meter Yagi that have a lot more gain than even the handheld Arrow or the elk antennas that we
How
use.
many
Uh,
elements are you going for?
so I've got the M squared Leo pack, and so on 70 centimeters, I think that's maybe a 12 element for the 70 sems,
Mm-hmm.
and then it
That's a
might.
serious Yagi.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's
6 feet long, and
yeah.
it's a good size antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those are kind of entry level moon bounce type antennas, right? They're not the real serious moon bounce guys will have much larger Yagis,
Well,
or
you
they'll
can,
be
yeah,
using.
with that you can probably try some
Yeah,
moon bounce.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
once
gonna
I
be
get that in play, I've got my 9700, and I've got um, I should have everything I need to give that a try. So that'll be something
very
fun.
nice. Can't
Yeah,
wait to
yeah,
see those
yeah.
videos.
That'll be fun.
We have a question here on the chat from a certain smoke signals. Um, he asks,
What's up,
what do you
Rizzo?
think about circular polarization antennas compared to a Yagi?
Yeah. So uh, it's good, right? And a circular polarized antenna is almost a necessary thing um, when you are doing remote control, right? Because you don't have the opportunity to turn.
Because you normally turn
That's
like
right,
that on to see if you get the right.
the right polarization,
Yeah,
right? With a circularly polarized antenna, you don't have to worry about that. So if you're operating a remote antenna, it's almost a necessity.
at
At
least you. I mean, you maybe not fully circular, but you get a horizontal and vertical combined.
That's right, that's right. And
What about
you
the
should
egg
you should
beaters and
also have a
those?
switch on those too, right? You should also have a switch on them so you can change the direction of
Mm-hmm,
the polarization, the circular polarization. The egg beaters, they're decent, right? You're not going to get the gain, right, that you're going to get out of a Yagi, but you also don't have to worry about pointing them. They're omnidirectional.
mm-hmm,
Now you lose maybe the first, I don't know, maybe 20 degrees of the pass
mm-hmm.
potentially, right, depending on what your horizons look like. But it's a great option if you don't have a lot of space to put up a set of Yagis. Yeah,
And what about
Bill. So Bill, Ham Radio Tectonics. He's
mhm.
got a couple egg beaters on the top of his green ham machine that he uses to listen to satellites.
And what about the elk periodic or the log periodic antennas?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the elk. I've got both the elk and the arrow. They're both great antennas. I like the elk just because it's less stuff. It's less fiddly. You've got fewer elements. As I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned early on, I think it was after we got the audio squared away. I like to do portable operation. I like to get out and rove. I like to do things. I like to make satellite contacts when I'm traveling, and so that means I got to travel with my antenna. So having fewer parts and pieces to deal with is a good thing when you're traveling. And the elk antenna has less elements to deal with. It only has elements in one plane. There's
Mm.
not as much going on. Um, it has a single coax connection, so you don't have to worry about having a duplexer. You don't have to worry about accidentally blowing up your duplexer, right? Those duplexers in the Arrow antennas can only handle 10 watts. If you happen to throw 15 watts at it, you're going to smoke it.
Uh,
So, and if you're buying one, right, if you're going out to buy one, um, that elk antenna is $20-$30 cheaper, right? So when somebody's just getting into this, if they have to buy a bunch of stuff to do it,
is
everyone
there
likes to
much of a
keep the
difference
cost low.
in gain?
Yeah, I think there is. I don't know that there's much difference. I think it's enough that you can recognize it. I think that the arrow has more gain. I don't think there's any question
Mm-hmm.
about that. But I do just fine, right? I do just fine with 5 watts in the elk antenna.
And that you normally use only 5 watts. You don't need
So
to do 50 or.
yeah, you certainly shouldn't do 50. Now there's a difference between the CubeSats and the International Space Station, right? Those CubeSats have very low wattage. They're designed for low wattage operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're only this big to begin with. So, um, the best practice is to use 5 watts. But if I'm going through like a low horizon pass, let's say I've got a 15-degree pass and I'm going through a bunch of trees, then I'll turn my radio up to 15 watts. So, but if I've got a clear sky, if it's an overhead pass and I've got a clear horizon or a clear sky, 5 watts will get it done, no problem.
Mm.
Now, if you're going on the ISS, right? If you're trying to get an ISS contact, that's got a modified Kenwood 710 on it, right? So that
Yep.
can handle some more juice, right? That can
Yep.
handle some higher wattage. And unfortunately, you've got people that are throwing 50 watts at it, right? And as we mentioned before, right, if they've got it captured at 50 watts, you're not getting in.
You're not it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But still, just, for my own, just the way I operate, 5 or 15 is the max I've ever thrown at any bird.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
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 Um, the I don't know. The we can move on from the satellite unless
Sure.
people in the chat have questions. But so what was your field day experience? This is
Yeah.
the week after field day. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
debrief.
Sure. I had big plans for field day. I was going to be spending some time with Paul. I think Paul's still in the chat. Uh with Paul and Tank Radio. And we had rented a cabin out at a Texas park, and I was excited. I was pumped. But things happen from time to time, and we had a circumstance that came up here at the ranch that caused me to uh, have to miss the party and have field day on the back porch. So that was my field day this year. So I set up my radio, a couple of radios actually, threw up an antenna. I didn't use my normal base station antenna. I put up a portable antenna, just like, I was
Mm-hmm.
pretending I
In
was
in
in
the in the
in
right
the park.
spirit of
Exactly. So I
yeah.
ran on battery power. I used a portable antenna, and I had a ton of fun. It was a good time. I certainly missed hanging out with my buddies, but you know, they would send me pictures of all the good food they were eating and all the fun they were having, and they would rub it in a little bit, but it was all in good fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I mean, I was field day at home this year, but I operated one Bravo, right? So I ran everything off of
You ran as yep. The
as
my
portable.
yeah my plans failed twice. So I ended up on plan C.
Okay.
The plan A was the regular the Sullivan County club operating out of a park as we've done in the last few years. But that plan fell through. We couldn't make it happen, so we had to cancel that. And then 2 days before field day, my wife's car broke down,
Uh,
and I just couldn't just leave her stranded the whole weekend. So I ended up uh, couldn't leave early enough. My plan B was to visit a bunch of sites from Albany to Pennsylvania, but I couldn't leave. Ended up leaving at 3 p.m. on on Saturday. But I
gotcha.
did visit the Orange County areas races club setup, and then stopped by a couple of friends who were camping in a park in Pennsylvania, and ended up in with this club in W5ITR
Oh, so you
in
got
Carmel,
around a
Charlotte.
little bit then.
Yeah, spent the night there. I did a couple hundred QSOs on their radios. Ended up
Nice.
sleeping on a hammock. Wake up at 6 in the morning when the sun came out. Um, and then instead, my plan was to come back home, but I looked on Instagram and I saw that the New Jersey Poda Club was doing an activation at a park,
Oh,
and
wow,
it ended up being
gluttons.
like a 2 hour detour, but it was worth it. It's like I got there
Nice.
and there were a bunch of polo users It was really not Taylor and forget names. I'm bad, so bad at names. The reason Polo has the emojis and the name reminders is because I'm very bad at names. I need a system to remind me. But basically, I show up there just when they were trying to debug a problem with Chromebook and Polo, and I just tap them in the shoulder and like, hey, wait a minute,
Let me see if I
you're the
can help
Polo
you with
guy.
that.
Yeah,
That's
uh,
awesome. I've got a
yeah. No.
couple of pictures here. If let's see if I can just I think I ought to
Let's
be
see if we
able
can
to.
figure out how to do it. Can you do
Well,
screen
let me
share?
just. I think I don't think we need to. I think I can just display them through my feed.
Okay,
Let me try this.
let's see. Yep, they're
You got
working
that?
just well.
All right.
I like what is it that you're running on that tablet? It
Oh
looks
yeah, yeah.
I think I've
I
seen it
got.
somewhere.
You may have seen that. So I used Polo as my logger for field day. Yeah, so I've got this is one of my older radios. I love this radio, and I forgot how much I loved this radio until this past weekend. This is a Kenwood TS 570, so the predecessor to the 590. Man, it's such a great radio. I got so many fantastic audio reports from folks on this radio. It was really great. It's been a long time since I operated it. But, yeah, you can see I've got a 12 amp hour Bioenno battery here next to this case, um, that I've got the radio on. I've got my Android tablet. I've got Polo going. This is right before field days started. I don't even have a single cue in the log yet, but, this was um, my primary operations here.
Hmm.
Let's see, yeah, it's just another.
Iso asks if please copy is acceptable during satellite contacts.
Yeah,
Those
no,
satellite contacts
no.
are fast. It's KI to the FN 21,
Yeah,
Fox
it
Nancy
is fast.
21.
It
That's
is
it's like
fast.
your grid.
Yeah, your call sign, your grid, and that's it. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. In addition to the 570, I also had the 891 set up to do digital modes. So I did
Hmm.
some digital modes as well. And then I also let's see what else I've got here. I had my solar out, so I ran. I, oh, this is just a portable. I just had I was actually end of the pack 10 up there. What else do I got here? Oh, here this was so I'm 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 sure many of the other folks that are watching this are similar to this, but I'm like once I get in this mode, I'm in the mode, right? I mean I operated till 4 in the morning, and this is a picture sometime after midnight. You can see I got a few cues in the log there. You can see what's going on there
Hmm.
with Polo. But yeah, I operated till 4 in the morning, then I got up at 6:30 and started hitting it again. Let's see here. I don't think we were here. This is from my 1:10 AM ISS pass. So, I do have this video out if anyone's interested in seeing that. I made a contact with Randy Berger. Uh, and Randy, he's actually the technical director for the ISS. So it was cool to make contact with him on field day. There were a lot of that was a great pass. There were a lot of operators on that pass, so that's a fun one to watch and listen to. But that was 1 o'clock in